Jamal Murray, 27 points on Friday night against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Denver plays host to the Washington Wizards at 8 tonight. The Nuggets and Warriors have identical records on top of the Western Conference. Both teams in action tonight, and they're going to meet on Tuesday on TNT. That's going to be a good one, I predict. Let's welcome in Mike Singer, who covers the Nuggets for the Denver Post. Mike, it's already been a great regular season. This team has won 8 of their last 10 and keeping pace with those Warriors. 5 of their last 7 games, though, are against playoff-bound teams out west. How important is making that push for the best record in the conference for the Denver Nuggets?
That's sort of the question that's swirling over the Nuggets over these last 7 games. The idea of, do we push for the number 1 seed, or are we content with the number 2 seed and having home court advantage throughout the first 2 rounds? In my opinion, I personally do not think the Nuggets should push for the number 1 seed. That might be a potentially controversial opinion, but I think that they need to be focused on resting guys and maintaining health going into the first round. This is a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 6 years. They need to focus on the first and second rounds, get home court advantage for as long as possible, and if you wind up in the Western Conference Finals, you take your shot at the Warriors if that's who they ultimately would face. But in my opinion, I don't think it's a huge emphasis for them to get the number 1 seed.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the Nuggets, they missed the playoffs last year, right? So they only have 5 guys with playoff experience. Paul Millsap with more than half of those games played. Does that fact loom over this team as they get closer to that postseason? Because it seems like something we're hearing a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, it's a double-edged sword for the Nuggets. They are one of the youngest teams going to be in the postseason, and so they sort of don't know what they should be scared of. At the same time, I've talked to Paul Millsap specifically about this, and, these young guys don't really know what to expect once they get into the postseason. And that's a scary premise for a team like the Nuggets who has such grand ambitions. We're going to see how they react. Those first 2 home games, presumably, obviously, they're going to have home court advantage the first round. It's going to be fascinating to see how they respond to playoff pressure, playoff environment, and maintaining home court advantage, which is so vital for them, given that I think they're 31-6 at the Pepsi Center.
So you just teed it up. Tuesday, they have the Golden State Warriors. I know that they played tonight, but that certainly a game that you would think is circled on the calendar, considering the last time they played felt like the Warriors really stepped up in that one. What's your take on Tuesday's game and the importance for the Nuggets?
What I think is very important for the Nuggets is I think that they need to be competitive. I'm not necessarily sure that they need to go into Oracle and win and prove that they can win on the road. They just need to be competitive. They got waxed the last time they played in Golden State, to the point where Coach Michael Malone called out his team for their selfish play, the lack of ball movement. It was stagnant. They looked like they were playing 2 different sports. They need to show, mostly to themselves as well as to the media and whoever else, that they can compete and that they can hold their own against the team. And again, it doesn't necessarily matter the result, but they need to show that they have a fighting chance should they meet them in the postseason.
Mike Singer from the Denver Post, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, fellas, that lack of experience for the Denver Nuggets, there you see it right in front of your face. Of course, the Golden State Warriors would have a ton of experiences. They're trying to have their 5th straight trip to the NBA Finals. Warriors lead that series 2-1. So in the event that these 2 teams end up with identical records, Warriors win that game, they hold the difference maker there, the tiebreaker.
Listen, I'm kind of on point with what he was just saying, in that for me, what's most important for Denver is the fact that they're going to finish 1 or 2. They're going to get a tremendous boost of confidence from that, because they're going to be able to look back and talk about the growth they've made as a group. Remember, you go back a season ago, they lost the last game of the regular season that knocked them out of the postseason, right? The reality, though, is when you get to the postseason, it's going to be an animal for which this team has never faced. And all you got to do is go back last year, even to Philadelphia, and you saw how humbling it was for Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, because they had never been in the postseason. They don't understand that, there's preparation and an intensity level that you have not experienced. And while you might have a few guys, Paul Millsap included, in that locker room that can talk to you about it, until you experience it, you don't really have a sense or feel for it. And that's why, for me, I'm putting all of my success for them on the regular season. They could very likely lose in the first round. I wouldn't be surprised. And that's not taking anything away from them. They've had a great year, but that's just really the nature of the postseason when you don't have that experience.
I completely agree. When it comes to playoff basketball, I'm not in love with the Nuggets personnel playoff-wise because of versatility, size, switching screens, playing small ball lineups, going big, going small. There's a number of factors that I can throw out. And in saying that, I put so much emphasis on the regular season. Let's say there's some, I don't want to say miracle, I don't want to disrespect the Nuggets, but you make it to see the Warriors. Now, if you have the #1 record in the Western Conference, you put them in a situation that they saw last year where they have to go on the road for a Game 7. It becomes that close. If they play career basketball, win out, and now somebody has to come to your home court. I've been in those situations before. And when you don't have experience, that's when it comes out to play in a Game 7. You could play a team as tight as you want to play, 3-3. And you come to that last game, GA, you want to have experience, and that wins out. And because of that, you got to take care of the regular season. I'm not saying do anything crazy. I'm not playing Jokic 40 minutes a night or something just to get it. But I think there's a responsible way in which you can go out and win some of these ball games down the stretch.
Yeah, certainly a tough road ahead for the Denver Nuggets, so they're going to have to make some choices as to who they play and how much they play them down.